Welcome. If you're a woman who has a sense that there's more out there for you, you're in the right place. I'm Whitney Baker, host of the Electric Ideas podcast. Somewhere along the line of work and kids, life carried on, but I lost track of my truth. I'm on a reflective journey, and that's what this podcast is all about. Each week, I interview a woman who is lighting her own path and offering others hope. Before our conversation ends, we'll share a reflective question for you to explore. Sometimes all we need is a jolt, a fresh idea, an aha moment that connects us to a sense of possibility. This, my friends, is what I call an electric idea. Welcome back to Electric Ideas. Today's guest is Sara Ann Kostelnik. Sara is the founder of Jade Scott Design, where she works with clients in a very soulful capacity as perhaps an unconventional interior design consultant. She's also host of the Mind Body Home podcast. Sara has a really unique approach called Mind Body Home Alignment, and she collaborates with clients to cultivate spaces imbued with flow, balance, beauty, and that support them in rekindling their connection with their inner spirit. So if you're somebody who is extremely practically minded and have no openness to spirituality, this might not be a conversation that hits home with you, and that's okay. But for the rest of you, I think it's very common for women to feel overwhelmed by life and to notice that our homes feel chaotic too. But this conversation to me is not about having some picture perfect home, but rather getting curious about what your home can tell you about your own unmet needs or perhaps emotional clutter. And also to get you thinking about how your home might be an ally in your wellness journey instead of another source of stress. Before we get into the episode, I wanted to share one quick reminder. If you're someone who is looking to call in a bit more peace and intention into your day-to-day, and you've been curious about meditation but don't know where to start, I've got you. My free 5-minute meditation called Show Up as Your Best Self Today is available in the show notes. You can click there and download. If for some reason that's just not working for you, you're welcome to message me on Instagram at @WhitneyWoman. I'll send it to you myself. I'm so passionate about sharing ideas, resources, rituals, anything that helps modern women shed some stress and create space for clarity around what matters most to them. So if you've been hearing a lot about meditation and thinking it sounds like something you could be into, but just keep pushing it off, here's your sign. Grab the meditation. If it turns out not to be your jam, you've only lost 5 minutes. All right. I know this episode is going to be a game changer for all of you out there who are looking to create a little bit more harmony in your homes and lives. So let's get into it. Hi, Sara. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Whitney. Thank you so much for having me.
You often say our homes are a missing link in women's wellness journey. So I just want to dive right in because you have a lot to talk about today.
Yes. So my philosophy, the foundation of it stems from what I call the mind body home alignment. And I really believe that home has been this missing piece to the whole mind body equation, right? I think it's really only been in recent years where we have finally accepted that in order to treat the body of pain, illness, disease, we have to treat the mind as well, right? Because as we know now, if we're just treating the body, we're just treating symptoms, but a lot of that stems in the mental space. And how I'm integrating home into that is through my understanding that just as our bodies are a physical extension of our mental state, so is our environment. And so when you can integrate all three, my philosophy has become mind plus body plus home equals spirit. And to me, when the three of those are working in flow and ease and balance, that's when we can live our life from our spiritual alignment. That's when we're in manifestation mode. That's when we feel whole and complete. That's when we're living out our purpose, because our purpose is to live within spirit, right? So home, yes, to me is a very integrated part of the whole mind-body equation. So to really quickly define it, that's my philosophy.
That was very clear. Thank you. And we'll definitely get more into it. One thing you've said, and this is a quote, you've said, if you're feeling overwhelmed with your life, chances are you're feeling overwhelmed with your home. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, it's really that extension. Just like with the body, things begin in the mind. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you feel you can't get ahead, you can't make a decision, you do not have clarity on how to move forward on anything, it is most likely showing up in your home space. Because if we're not mentally clear, then that extension of mind and how it plays out in our environment is also occurring. So it's really like when I begin working with a client, how the home represents itself gives me a lot of clues as to what's going on in their mind. And there's lots of other tools to dig into that a lot deeper, but really it's an energetic pattern. It's an energetic sensation that I can sense. And when you start knowing where to look, when you have some of the awareness around areas of your life where you do feel overwhelmed, you can use some Feng Shui tools to help kind of pinpoint exactly what they are. And then it becomes more of a curiosity and almost a playfulness, right? When we talk about clutter, we're really talking about emotions. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And it's really those deep emotions, right? That's why decluttering for so many people, they don't want to do it. It's like too much work. It feels like a hassle. It's overwhelming. And it's usually tied to those same emotions that we don't want to deal with. Guilt, shame, grief is a huge one. So it's really about addressing emotions. And what I find is working with the home almost makes it like takes the pressure off a little bit, because who wants to sit there and talk about grief? Who wants to sit there and talk about like things they feel guilty of, right? And that's why a lot of people don't address it. And that's why we live with the clutter or the physical ailments or the chronic disease or the overwhelm. We just keep going because we don't want to address those underpinnings. But I feel like when we work with the home, it sort of brings a playfulness into it, right? It brings this, curiosity about, and especially when you learn some of the Feng Shui terminology and you start looking at the Bagua map and you see where your wealth corner is and where your love corner is. I find with clients, it brings this sort of excitement and newness that in traditional therapy settings that they don't really want to address it.
That makes sense. I definitely think that wherever anybody stands on their kind of feelings or exposures to this whole idea of a mind body home connection, as you so eloquently put it, I think we can all agree that sometimes when we completely deep clean or move something, or we finally clean out a drawer that's been bugging us and like sucking our mental energy forever, it usually triggers other shifts. So I just want to circle back because that was really interesting to me in your work with clients. I know that every home is different and every body and woman is different. But when you walk in, what are some areas, if a woman is complaining of feeling that overwhelm, what are some areas that you kind of peek at right away?
The kitchen is one. I think just women in general, that's our natural place to be. And I don't mean that from some derogatory standpoint. I'm saying that's where we spend as a family the most time. The kitchen surfaces is interesting. I mean, how many of you can relate to that one part of your countertop that's just always cluttered with something? It's the mail, it's the keys, sunglasses, the kids' school notes and paperwork that needs to be done. So cluttered surfaces are an indication of overwhelm, not enough time to deal with or put away simple items or designate space for simple items. Another place is the bedroom. So the bedroom typically represents, if you think about the bedroom, it's that intimate part of yourself. It's that part of yourself that not very many people get to see. So when there is a lot of clutter going on in the bedroom, and when I say clutter, I don't mean it in the negative sense, which in my mind, there really is no negative. It's all positive because it's all clues for transformation. But when I say clutter, I'm really just saying stuff, right? Stuff is just sort of this nondescript, I don't know what to do with, I don't have time to deal with type of things scattered about. So clutter in the bedroom might look like just laundry piles, overstuffed closets and drawers. The nightstands are cluttered with things that are not necessary. Maybe there's even workout equipment, or there's a lot of things shoved under the bed, or your laptop or your home office is in your bedroom. Like all of these clues that you don't have the space to move freely in your home and you're isolating it to one room. And the thing with clutter, again, because it's so wrapped up in things like shame, being an interior designer, I would come to people's homes and the first thing out of their mouth is, oh, don't mind how my home looks, right? We're so worried about how we're perceived by others, especially as it relates to our home. So the bedroom is definitely another area of the home where I can sense a lot of overwhelm within a space.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you brought up that shame piece because I think it's so true. I think it's fascinating your background as both a designer and everything you talk about now. Tell us more about your philosophy because I really like what you said that some of the clutter, it's not negative, it's clues for transformation. So if you discover some of these clues in a home and you don't want a woman to feel shamed because that's a horrible emotion and it can be very vulnerable to look at your home this way and I don't want women to feel judged, but what are some simple steps we can take to kind of unwind from that sense of overwhelm?
Yeah, I think first acknowledging that the sensation is there, not to repress it, push it away, ignore it, deny it, to simply say, I feel shame for the way my home looks, and verbalize it and let it come up and out of your body, right? So to me, that's step number one. And if you have shame, then you probably have a clutter issue, we'll just say. And, clutter is a direct line, I said it before, to your emotions. And your emotions are a direct line of communication to your intuition. And your home becomes a mirror for your life. And what is a mirror? It's a reflection. All your clutter or your emotions, because to me, those words can be used interchangeably, is just revealing back to you what you need to see in order to transform, in order to, I always say, reveal what needs to be healed, right? Just open up space for that. And when we open up space to our intuition, we invite a conversation in with our home. And, for some people that sounds a little woo-woo-y, but, I don't care. I have no shame in my game. So it's like, just open up to it and really start listening to your home and paying attention. It's about bringing some awareness into your everyday environment about how you move through your home. Where do you feel tight? Where do you feel restricted? Where do you just feel unsettled? We just moved into a new home and my pet always would be out in the main living area. She sleeps on the couch. She's a little Pomeranian, so she's tiny. She sleeps on the couch. Her bed is in here. But since we moved into this home, she's been hiding under my bed. And like just that, right away, my husband, he's an ex-vet tech. So he jumps to her legs are bothering her. And I'm like, no, there's something off energetically here that she's not vibing with. And, so like pets are like really great indicators of energy in a space. So, there's some things I need to tweak and look at and start opening myself up to, but just bringing an awareness, one, opening yourself up to that shame and admitting that you have it and letting it get out. And then just being more aware of your surroundings.
I think a lot of women will feel empowered by how you talk about the connection to the home because I think it's really easy to hop on we're not perfectionists. We don't need the Pinterest perfect home. And I've kind of shifted the way I think about this as no, you don't need that. However, you could be missing out on an opportunity to support you and support your ultimate well-being and your growth if you were a little bit more soulfully connected to your environment.
100%. Absolutely. Everything in the world is living, is breathing, and your home is that. I mean, I could go on and talk about the structure of the house, right? Like the HVAC is the lungs, it's the breathing system of your home. The windows are your eyes to the world, right? The door is how opportunities and energy enters in and things can find you. Like there's a whole energetic element to your home. And that's really what I try to convey through my podcast is just opening people up to this idea, because I think that Feng Shui, it's newer, I feel like, in Western society. And I think as we're evolving spiritually, I think collectively, that's just a huge movement right now. More and more people are becoming interested, but there's a lot of, just put oranges in a bowl on your countertop or, space clear. There's there's intention behind it. Like just setting a bowl of oranges on your countertop isn't going to do you anything unless you have some awareness around why you're doing it. That's really the key.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you mentioned that because I wanted to make sure to chat about a term that you coined called clarity cleaning. And I think this is really where that intention piece comes in. Can you tell us about this?
Yeah. So clarity cleaning is a concept I've sort of coined myself. And it came to me because I never enjoyed cleaning like kitchens and baths. Like those are the two rooms. And I think a lot of women can relate to that. Like it's not my favorite place to clean. But once I started realizing the connections of, the water element being in the bathroom, we'll just stick with the bathroom, for example, how the water element relates to our emotional state. It also relates to our financial status and what's going on there. And I remember cleaning the bathroom and feeling really emotional. And it was after cleaning that I sort of perked up. I sort of felt better. And that's when I made that connection that I was really open to receiving information and guidance during my cleaning session. And from that day on, it really switched my mind from, oh, I got to clean today or putting off the bathroom cleaning, right? To now I actually enjoy cleaning because I do it with intention. It's really an opportunity for me to connect with my intuition. I'm very spiritually inclined. I love my spiritual practice, but it looks different from what most people do. Everybody sits in meditation 20 minutes a day, both morning and night, and do some journaling. I don't always resonate with that. I do it sometimes. But another way to invite meditation into your day is through clarity cleaning. And it's just a mindful cleaning practice to literally ask for guidance to come through while you're cleaning. And I think when you work with a practitioner and you start understanding the areas of your home, where your kitchen sits, where your bathrooms sit, you can bring even more deliberate intention to specific areas of your life while you're cleaning. So I mentioned the kitchen countertops. If you're feeling overwhelmed, stressed, you can't make a decision, cleaning your countertops off completely, wiping them down, opening the windows, go take a walk, come back and see if you have clarity. I promise you, you will. And leave it like that maybe for the day. Just once it's cleaned off and you can just look at how clear that space is, it's an immediate difference. I mentioned the windows being the eyes of the home. That's another area is cleaning windows. Who likes cleaning windows? Not many people, except for me now, because I know that it's an invitation to receive guidance. And so if our windows are dirty and smudged and all that, then maybe we can't see clearly. But when you're cleaning your windows, invite that intuitive guidance to come through for whatever it is, you need guidance on. So clarity cleaning, that is a great mental clarity tool. I love using it.
That's interesting. I love how you are connecting to your intuition throughout the cleaning process. I also feel like there's an opportunity to sometimes just set an intention. And I just want to rewind a little bit. One of the reasons I like working with these intentions when I'm doing some of these, small cleaning chores is because it can feel like you're being put upon. It can feel like a chore. And it feels more like something I'm doing to empower my own life when I have just a little bit more intention about it. And it doesn't take any more time either. I love when we can find little rituals to just bleed into our day to day. So sometimes, even when I will open a window, I try to open a window and windows most days. I will just say a little intention like, may, fresh perspective come in and any heavy energy leave us. Or when I am sweeping, that's a very easy opportunity just for me to set an intention of like what I'm releasing and making space for.
I love that. It can be as simple as that. It doesn't have to be huge window cleaning. It can be as simple as that. And I love that you're already doing that. Yeah, I mean, intention setting is huge. And back to what I was saying about, someone who's overwhelmed with their life and their work and their kids and running them back and forth, who has time to sit and meditate? And that's what I mean. Like it's a great way to invite that in, that mindful presence, that intention setting process into your day with things that you have to do anyway.
Yeah. Do you have any other favorite rituals or strategies you help women with in terms of just feeling like they are a little bit more intentionally connected to their homes?
Yeah, so I think there's a concept I talk about, which is restful spaces, especially for women who feel overwhelmed just by their day to day, is creating little pockets throughout your home that are restful. Some people think that it needs to, again, be this big ordeal. I need to do this huge space clear and chime bells 9 times and do all. It doesn't have to be that. It can be if that resonates with you, but it doesn't have to be. So I love creating restful spaces in the home. So in my last house, as you would get up the stairs, there was like a built-in little dresser space. And just the way the light kind of came in was just pretty. And I just had it very simple. It was a little plant, a little crystal, and I had this artwork of two people just kind of gently resting their heads. And in that home, all of the bedrooms were upstairs. So it was kind of like as you go upstairs, upstairs is restful. It's where we prepare for bed. It's time for rest. And, art and other objects in your home, all of that is always playing on your subconscious at all times. So being really mindful about what your eyes land on every single day, especially through your main pathways through your home, being really mindful about what you're looking at. Is it vibrant and high energy? Like I wouldn't put a wild abstract painting at the top of the stairs because that's going to get me jammed up, before bed. So that was one great example. Another one might be, maybe you have a favorite chair in the living room. Does it feel restful? Do you have soft pillows and cushions to comfort you? Do you have a table? Like, is it easy to just rest there? Do you have a table for your drink? Do you have a book you could pick up if you have 5 minutes to read? And same thing, like kitchen window. Are you at your kitchen sink a lot and you have a window? What are you looking at outside? What's on the windowsill? What can you add to just make it a little bit more enjoyable space to just invite that restfulness and that presence into your day, even if it's for 2 minutes.
I love that image of seeing just something relaxing and restful as even kind of a moment to take a beat as you're going upstairs and defining that floor of bedrooms as somewhere where rest happens. I know it is true that many women, regardless of what's going on in their home, have trouble actually relaxing in their own homes. Can you help us understand why it's important to be able to relax in your own home? And if you've seen this phenomenon, and if so, what advice you have for women that struggle with this?
Yeah, I think one of the things you can do is to start, again, we talked about interacting with your home more one-on-one, talking to it, speaking with it, asking what it needs. And it becomes a conversation. You asking it what it needs becomes, I can give you what you need. And I think creating these restful spaces is going to help, even if it's just your nightstand and clearing it off and just putting a few things there. Maybe it's a trinket tray, your favorite smelling lotion. That brings me to a great point of engaging the senses. Anytime you can engage all of your senses in a space, that is when you're inviting everything great into your life, whether it's by scent, it's visual, it's feeling. So surrounding yourself with textures and velvets, things that feel good on the body. Because when we're overstimulated, we're having a nervous system response. And so that's when somatics is really great, is bringing in that somatic practice of feeling and letting our eyes land on something that is visually appealing, letting our senses take over us by something lovely that we like to smell. So engaging the senses, creating those restful pockets. And again, it doesn't have to be a huge design project. It can be a window. It can be a nightstand. It could be just buying yourself a new bubble bath and making more of a attempt at ritualizing those things. That's really going to help a lot.
And what advice do you have for women who resonate with what you're saying, but they bring up the time excuse and they're just like, I think that it's really common for women to just get into the all or nothing trap.
Yes.
And Do you have any advice for just slowly getting curious about spaces in our home that maybe clutter is accumulating?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest keys is not letting it become another thing that overwhelms you. And that's meeting yourself where you are. Say you're mentally overwhelmed, you have a lot going on, and you need to plan the family vacation this summer, but you just are like, I don't have time, right? Well, just maybe you start with just clearing off the kitchen countertops. Maybe don't do all the kitchen countertops, but maybe you just do the island and you clear off that island. And like I said, you take that walk. There comes a point where you have to push yourself a little bit more, right? If it's something you really desire, you really do have to push yourself. And that's, one thing when clients work with me, it's kind of mandatory with me that you're going to create space to do this work, because if you don't, I'm not doing the work for you. I'm really just like guiding you. I'm helping you I'm giving you some tools, but it's really up to you to implement them. But it's really about starting small, because we have to remember that compounding effect, right? It's 1% shifts or 1 degree shifts. That's all we need to make in a day. And so finding ways to make just little 1% tweaks, it might be the next time you're at Home Goods and you pick up a basket because you're so tired of walking in the front door and everybody's shoes are there. You don't need to go to IKEA and figure out this huge project to build and storage and all that. It doesn't have to be like that. It could be a basket. And you just start telling people, when you come in, your shoes go in the basket. That alone is game changing. If you have a family of 4, that shoe pile can get pretty heavy, right? So
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So it's 1 degree shifts.
I know that spring cleaning is on the mind. I feel like this is a very timely conversation when women are maybe giving this a little bit more headspace and time. Before we go, I just want to ask you, because I think it's always good to have a little nudge. And I like that you said sometimes we do have to take some action. So, what are a couple of your favorite tips for people actually finally just letting some stuff go and deciding to live with less and making these decisions quickly so they're not overspending time on this decluttering process?
Yeah. So one of the questions I love to ask people is, well, first it's a statement, but is to view your home as one giant vision board. Okay. Because what's a vision board? A vision board is what you want to manifest in your life, how you want to change or bring into, right? And then I ask, is what's in your home, would you put that on your vision board? And there's a lot that people do not want to take with them on their vision board, right? Because clutter in your house begins when we're very young, right? It's when we first start attaching to things, we start learning this is mine, this is yours, and we identify with our things. And then it shows up in, our careers and our relationships. And the reason when clutter becomes an issue, it's because we haven't processed the emotional underpinnings that those things carry. So a couple breaks up, a couple gets divorced, and we're still holding on to things from that relationship. That is keeping us stuck from moving on into the next relationship. Or if we do find ourselves in a relationship again, we find the same triggers and issues revealing themselves over and over again because we're still holding on to things from past ones. Same thing in your career. Maybe you got let go of a job and you're holding on to a lot of anger and resentment around that, and you haven't moved past it. You haven't gone through that grieving process fully. And so now you find yourself an entrepreneur trying to get your business off the ground. You're working from home, but it's not working. So maybe you still have business suits from that past job hanging in your closet. That's how the attachment to things really starts to keep us stuck. It takes like a mental clarity exercise about where am I? Where do I want to be? How do I prioritize this? That's where people get stuck. And so it's really about understanding those key areas of life and where you're at and where are you trying to advance, but you're not seeing progress. That's kind of step one.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's funny how we all have these different rituals and ways of thinking. And sometimes you start talking and you realize something that you do is just so foreign and maybe enlightening to friends. I was recently on a walk with a friend and I was like, she gave me a nice compliment about my clothing choices. And I'm like, oh, it's easy. I like everything in my closet and everything fits. So I just kind of get to pick. And she's like, what? And it was just like shocking and revolutionary for her. But I've found if I go through my closet, and it's a practice, I'm not perfect at this either, but it's fun if I just filter things from a perspective of, oh, would my highest self be excited to put this on? If not, it's a no. And a lot of times it's not that I need more clothing at all in my closet, it's that I need less clutter so that I can just make a fast choice. And then I magically see, like, oh, this would look cute with this. And I already love both pieces. So it's a no brainer. And it's just simpler.
Yeah, and it's not that simple for a lot of people. Like you said, like for your friend, it's probably not that simple. I mean, if you think about it, decluttering is letting go, and letting go is grief. It's an emotional process that people don't want to. It could be, when we think of grief, we think of the loss of a loved one. It could be that. It could be that big, but it could also be something really small too. People holding on to childhood memorabilia because they feel they got cheated out of a childhood. They didn't have the childhood they always wanted to experience, right? I mean, it shows up in all sorts of ways.
Well, I think for women too, like letting go of certain pieces in their closet that are a past identity,
100%.
that can be really tricky.
It's a really tricky one. The identity piece is the biggest piece. It's letting go of something. When we attach to an identity, that identity becomes a part of us. Like it literally feels like a physical part of us. So letting that go is tough. It's tough. And all of this is happening, by the way, very unconsciously. Like nobody's walking around like, don't want to deal with my grief. Like it's not even a conscious thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. There comes a time where it will start revealing itself to you by listening. I'm sure the women listening to this podcast, they know it's happening. They can feel it, right?
Yeah. Well, I feel like we've covered a lot of beautiful territory, and I just want to make sure, is there anything else that's on your heart today to share with my listeners across the board? We've touched on many topics.
Yeah, we have. I think really just start seeing your home as a manifestation tool. That's such a buzzword, but I like using it because it appeals to people. It appeals better than like spiritual growth and, digging into raw emotions, right? But like you can use it as a manifestation tool. It can be a supportive vessel in your healing journey, in your transformational process. I mean, it certainly has been that for me. I mean, it has springboarded a whole new career for me. I've moved 3 times in 6 months. It's, home has been very significant in my life, and it is an extension of us. It's part of us. And it is the most sacred space that is ours personally. Yes, we could go to church, we could be in community, but if you start seeing your home as that sacred supportive vessel, you're going to develop a really beautiful relationship with it.
Love that. I always close my episodes with a chance for reflection. I feel like you've had a lot of beautiful questions you've shared, but if women could be asking themselves a question when it comes to spiritually connecting with their home, living with less clutter, getting curious about clutter, what's one question women could be asking themselves more?
Yeah. So in any process, in any new client relationship, the first step is always decluttering. It's always looking at what's around us. So my question, it's one question, 3-part answer. And it's, where are you cluttered in mind, body, and home? Make some time and space to evaluate all 3 and start seeing where your dots start to connect.
Beautiful. Sara, this was such a great conversation. I'm sure that my community will like to follow you and learn more. So where can we find you?
Yes, you can find me online. My website, jadescottdesign.com, has everything on the podcast and my services. Also on social media at Jade Scott Design.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you joined me today. If you're looking for more, feel free to connect with me on Instagram at @WhitneyWoman. And if you enjoyed the show, I invite you to support me by leaving a review or sharing it with a friend. Hope you have an inspired day.